This book took me the whole year of 2020 to read. Hi guys, it's Shayla here. I don't even know how to start this because I'm so nervous to like make this book review, but it needs to be said because I don't even know how to properly start this video because it's just like I really wanted to like this book. I really did. I really did. I really wanted to like this. I couldn't. I read the first one of A Court of Thorns and Roses. This one was so easy. I think I read it back in like late 2019. And the first book was alright. Like, it was decent. Like, it was just your typical, I mean, I wouldn't consider it like YA, but like, it was just your typical like story, like Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I actually enjoyed myself with it. So I think I purchased this book in either January or February of 2020. And when I tell you it took the whole year, it literally took the whole year to finish this book. I could not read any of the other books that I was interested in reading because I felt guilty because I was like, I need to finish this book. I don't know if I was just dumb or like, of course we were in quarantine, so like I didn't really feel like reading and I was doing other stuff to keep myself occupied and I was in a reading slump and everything. Honestly, like I just could not read it. Got up to page, I was in like the 300s, like in the middle of this book, and nothing was progressing. It got so bad, literally in December, I was like, I'm not going to basically take a whole year again to finish this book, and I'm not gonna DNF it. So I'm gonna finish it because I'm a trooper. So I literally had to download Audible to get through the remainder of the book. The book starts out with Farah, and she still has like PTSD from like her trials from Amarantha, from under the mountain and everything. Like, her and Tamlin are going through it. No one is discussing their issues whatsoever. Fuck the pain away, I guess, but not really, because she's vomiting every single minute, you know, having like nightmares and having guilt over killing 3 fairies, and he's like waking up in the middle of the night turning into like a wolf or bear or whatever, I can't even remember. So like, no one's dealing with the actual issues here. Farah is completely shuts herself out. There's the wedding to Tamlin, and she's just kind of like, oh, marrying Tamlin, he's great and all, but like, do I really want to go through this? And then you have this, oh my gosh, this maid, what was her name? Or this priestess, and she's mentioned again at the very end of the novel, and I'm just like, oh, I totally forgot that this character even existed. What was her name? Her name was Ianthe? I'm gonna call her Izzy. So then Izzy basically like is telling her like all this crap, saying, I help you out. Like, she's basically like helping Farah out to be the best bride and consort to Tamlin. And then Farah is just kind of like, oh, but I could be so much better. She's having that like Olivia Pope wannabe type of esque where she's like, I don't want to marry Fitz. I don't want to be Fitz's wife. I want to be that bad bitch, alright? I don't want to be talking to, like, the other ladies in DC talking about recipes and everything. No, like, I want to be the wolf, okay? I want to be the main chick. That is what Farah is doing. She's like, no, I don't want to be nobody's consort. I want to be the main dish. I want to be the, what was it? The high lady of the spring court. And Tamlin is like, no. Of course, bad boy, Mr. Steal Your Girl, Ryzen, shows up to the wedding just in time and snatches her away. That was so interesting. That was probably one of my favorite moments of this entire book, is when he snatched her away. Everyone's pissed off, you know, rightfully so. And Tamlin, my dude Tamlin. He got the worst treatment out of everybody in this entire book. Like, I don't know what Maas was thinking, but like she completely destroyed his character just because he's traumatized. Like, this man is literally traumatized. Not saying like what he did was right, like I get that, but at the same time I'm just like, Jesus. How this guy be redeeming in some type of way? But no, he basically locks up Farah, ignores every word saying that he's trying to protect her. She like freaks the freak out, and like she puffs up in black smoke. I think it was Amryn. I think Amryn basically saves her and brings her back to the Night Court, and then she basically stays with Rysand almost the entire chunk of the novel. And so this is when shit starts to go downhill real fast for me. We are spending so much time in Valoris. I think that's how you pronounce the city. The Valoris, which is the main city of the Night Court, where basically Rysand runs, and he protected it from Amarantha and everybody else. It's super secret, it's beautiful, whatever, whatever, okay, yada, yada, yada. But we spent so much time in the Night Court where it's basically just Feyre palavering off, walking around the city, talking to like the other members of Rysand's court, which is Cassian, Azriel, Mor, and Amryn, about their lives, and then we get very long dialogue about, you know, them being Illyrian and outcast and all this stuff, and I'm just like, okay, okay. By like page 300 and something, I was completely over it. I was just like, okay, so, what's happening? Like, I think, I'm gonna say, is 624 pages, not counting the acknowledgements and the other extra stuff. 624 pages. This book could have been over, and like, this book literally could have been 400 something pages. We start wasting time in Valoris and all this stuff, and Feyre's turmoil where she's sad and she doesn't know what to do, and I'm just like, oh my god, do something! Like, like, deal with your problems. And I know that a lot of people who are going through, like, I mean, she's going through a mental health crisis, so for a lot of people, they don't know how to, like, deal with their problems. But, like, for people like me, I'm just like, as soon as I have, like, a mental health, like, crisis, or, like, I know what's happening, I'm just like, stop. Like, I gotta stop everything and be like, okay, I need to get right down to the point. I need to talk to a professional. I need to talk it out. Do this, do that, and do that, so that way it doesn't, like, basically manifest into, like, this big old thing. And basically, oh my gosh, like, Feyre is just sitting there complaining and just, like, being such a bore, just a drag. And I'm just like, oh my god, if you don't do fucking something. Yeah, she's training and everything, but I'm just like, I feel like Maas was trying to tell me how much of a bad bitch Feyre was, but I was cackling because I was just like, no, she is not. Rysand this entire time is telling Feyre, oh, it's your choice. Oh, like, you can do whatever you want. Oh, a lot of people are like, oh, like, a feminist king. I'm just like, is it though? Like, that's the fucking bare minimum. If you're telling me I have a choice in the matter, first of all, you don't even have to tell me that. I already know. If a man has to tell her that she has a choice, and basically telling her that she can make a choice, and basically telling her she's so strong, she's so this, that ain't a bad bitch to me. That's just somebody who literally needs to be uplifted because they're just so full of anxiety and self-doubt and have low self-esteem. Like, if a guy told me, like, oh, Shayla, you can do whatever you want, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I can do whatever I want. Like, I already know that. I don't need a man to tell me that. That's what I have issues with. I understood what Maas was trying to do. She was basically trying to say that, like, you know, Rysand is the good guy. But I felt like she was punching me in the face with it. Like, it was like, did you get that? Did you get that? I'm like, yeah, like, I have a fucking bloody nose and my teeth is on the ground. Like, yeah, I got it. Like, I got that he's a good guy, and I get that he basically is in love, a simp for Feyre. Like, I get that 100%. You don't need to, like, jam me in with all this, like, unnecessary dialogue and repetitions of words, and I'm just like, oh, like, I get it, I get it. And then they waste time in the summer court, and I think the guy's name is Tarquin, and of course that's, like, the only, like, sorts of black people in this entire, like, fairy, like, realm. And of course, like, colonizers, like they are, fuck over the black phase in this book by trying to get the book. Gosh, don't even ask me what the book is named. I know it's the book that is the key to, like, basically. Honestly, at this point, I was reading it on Audible, so, like, I don't even know. Like, this is such a huge blur for me. They're trying to get this book. They're trying to get a book which is a key to something or blah, 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 because they have the talk to, like, whatever. And this guy Tarquin was the only person that I honestly liked, because he was genuinely trying to be friends with Feyre and Rysand, but they were just gonna screw him over, which kind of reminded me of like African chiefs from various African countries being nice to like Europeans, and the Europeans just really being like, oh man, these people don't know about to screw them over. Like, friendship? No, I want the book instead. It's just like full of guilt, because she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've done this. I don't know what to do. And I'm just like, bro, like, you had a choice in the matter. And then Rysand was like, oh, you don't think I don't like this either? And I'm just like, these are all excuses, but I'm just gonna keep it stepping because I gotta finish this book. They meet up with the three, this was the part that got confusing, because like, so they meet up with like three fairies, and they were human, I think, because at the end of the novel, they wanted to become immortal and fae-like. So then they meet up with these three human queens that basically was bestowed the gift of like immortality in a way, but not in a fairy type of level by, I think, King Hybern or somebody like during the wars. And they basically decide to meet up Feyre's old house where her sisters live, which I was thinking like that is just literally the worst idea you could possibly have. But then again, I understand because they couldn't like just invite them to Valeria's, which it didn't matter anyway, and I'll get to that soon. I'm just like, you're putting your sisters in danger, which you don't even talk to, which then again, and that's another thing. So Elaine and Nesta, all good in the hood, but then like in the first book, they were completely shitty to Feyre, and now all of a sudden we're supposed to like them now? Like, these girls were lazy, couldn't defend for themselves in the first book, but now like they're great. Nesta, who is probably the only competent person in this entire novel, is, you know, speaking her mind, calling people out on their shits and their tomfoolery. And then you have Elaine, who is just like that really annoying cottagecore girl. Cassian, and then you have this back and forth with Cassie and Nesta, which was the only entertaining part out of this like middle slog that I was in. It's already been spoiled to me that like basically Nesta and Castian get together. I mean, like the fourth book is gonna be coming out, and like it's literally like that, talking about them being potentially together. So they waste time talking to like the three queens who are just kind of like, F you, we're not gonna give you your help, we're not gonna help you guys. And they're just like, oh my god, I can't believe this. I'm just like, well, I mean, I could, because it's taking so long for this plot to freaking move. Like when I tell you, like everything in the middle is a blur to me, other than the fact that they were in the summer court and like Feyre and Rysand were basically just like playing with each other. A lot of this was just kind of like, why? Like, why am I sitting here basically trying to get through the story when all of the action does not pick up until after chapter 55? Chapter 55, like, I know there are sex scenes and everything, and everybody was hyping up saying, oh my god, like Sarah J Maas, like, oh my god, this is so erotic, this is the best thing ever. Maybe like I read too much smut when I was 13, which is absolutely detrimental, but when I read it, I was just like, okay, it was very vanilla. Like, I just didn't appreciate the fact that like when Feyre and basically realized that like Rysand was her mate, even though like of course he was, like how it was so obvious, like having sex like freaking rabbits like all over the place, which I know like it was explained that when you get together with your mate is like it's so, the bond is so uncontrollable that you're basically horny for your partner 24/7. Okay, so my camera died on me again. What was I talking about? I'm like basically, I feel like this review is nothing because what I read was nothing. I wanted to like this book so bad, and like I don't hate Sarah J Maas. Let me just say that right now. Like, I don't hate her. Let me just go back into the story. The plot starts to pick up for me basically after they start having sex. It's not because I'm a pervert, but like that's when things start to get very interesting, ironically. Feyre bumps into Lucien, who at this point lost his manlyhood. Man, he lost his balls completely. Like, he is just this dog that does like all of Tamlin's dirty work and all his commands. Like, that is it, that's his role, nothing more. So Feyre freaks out because she's like, oh my god, it's Lucien, like he's gonna try to get me back into the hands, the clutches of Tamlin. And then Lucien's like, yo bro, can you please come back home? Like, I'm tired of this suffering. You are making me suffer because Tamlin is absolutely losing it. can you please come home? Feyre's just like, no. She basically makes this whole spectacle of like how like her and Ryzen are basically together, blah blah blah, and Lucien's just like, oh my god, like this girl is gonna get me fucking killed because I will not know peace until she comes back. And then they meet up with the queens again, who are completely useless to the story. Like I don't even think they have names, which I really wish they had names instead of being like the golden one and like this one or the young one. I'm just like, they should have, like, if they're on a level of importance that you guys have to constantly meet up with them and share like a half of the book of, I think they're trying to get knowledge to King Hyperion. My god, I don't even know anymore. But if they're on that level of importance, they should have names. I don't care what anybody says. Like, they should have names, make up some names. I know you can. So that way I can actually care about them. And they don't have names, they're a throwaway character. But these are not throwaway characters. Because what ends up happening, the three queens basically say F you to Ryzen and bombs his city. Everyone's shook, and I'm just like, what did you expect? Like, these are some trifling hoes that you guys are messing with for some god reason because you guys wanted an alliance so bad. Like, they attacked your city. Like, are we supposed to be surprised? I'm not. Oh, this is business, honey. Oh, sad, boo-hoo, people are injured, you know, like, Feyre's a hero! Ooh. You know, and, like, Ryzen's like, I don't deserve you, and I'm just like, you guys just need to just shut your mouth. Can we get on with the story? Make me care. Please. I'm begging you to make me care. Feyre just, you know. Yeah. Everything beyond chapter 65 was the high points of this entire book. Okay, that is sad as hell. Basically, they open the book. This is when things get confusing. So they open the book, but they get teleported to King Hyperon's like base, like his castle, and then there's Jurian, and I don't know, like Jurian was like a spy or whatever. Whatever. Jurian, that whole thing with him bringing Jurian to it, I was just like, goodbye. Like, I don't really care about that. Here's King Hyperon, which, in some ways, to make me care, I made him kind of remind me of Frieza in a way from Dragon Ball Z. So like, he's just there, and then Tamlin's there. That's the plot twist. Tamlin's there, okay, and it turns out he made a deal with Frieza. I mean, King Hyperon. So basically, Hyperon can make a base in the Summer Court, and the Summer Court can be, you know, like, okay. Which is exactly what Frieza did to, like, the planet Vegeta, and like employed the Saiyans just to turn around and just blow up the fucking planet. So this is with the point where like everybody becomes completely useless and everything becomes very awkward. It reminded me in like animes where you have like the main boss villain and like everyone's getting pummeled for some reason. Like the villain is still there and everyone's just standing around there like being hurt or whatever. But everyone's just kind of there not doing anything. I'm just like, bro, do something, because that's exactly what ends up happening. Ryzen gets like decked to the floor, so does Cassian and Azrael for some godforsaken reason. Mor gets grabbed, but then all of a sudden, you know, they bring out Nesta and Elaine. So I'm just like, what? What do they have to do with anything? That's when things start to get very, very, I don't want to say like childish, but like very anime-like where no one's fucking doing a thing. Nesta and Elaine are basically threatened to be put into the cauldron, which basically will turn them into fairies, which is not really like a bad thing, but like it is a bad thing because they want to be humans, obviously. Everyone's just kind of like watching them pushed into the cauldron, turning into fae. And like Tamlin tries to do something, oh, this is not part of the deal, and Hyperion was like, yeah, I don't care, like I'm king. He literally says, I don't care. And I'm just like, this is such a cartoon character. Like we dealt with Amarantha in the first book, like I could tolerate that because that was the first book. There are these like medium like villains that like you defeat and they're easy and they're like, okay, because you know there's a bigger one to basically defeat. Like the Avengers, they had to defeat all these small villains, not small, but they had to defeat all these villains like Ultron, Ronan, and all these other people, right, to get to the big guy, which is Thanos. King Hybern is supposed to be Thanos, and he's not giving me Thanos energy. I just think that he's just a clown. Like, he's just there just to be like, well, just for giggles, let me just turn these two girls that has nothing to do with the story whatsoever into fairies just because. Not even because she's trying to show, like, the queens that they can be immortal. That didn't even have to be in there. Sarah J. Maas just threw it in there so that way Elaine could be Lucien's mate. Elaine is Lucien's mate, which I'm just like... thrown at the very end with no explanation, no hype up, no nothing, no chemistry, no nothing. Lucien just says it. You're just kind of like, am I supposed to accept that? Like, am I supposed to accept that this man who knows nothing about this girl, and he just hovers over her? I'm just like, bro. And no one's doing nothing? No one can, you're telling me nobody could get up for that instant and like literally throw a sword, like a javelin, like throw a sword over to like King Hyperon's like chest and just impale him right then and there. Are you kidding? Like, the way that all that scene was written, I was very confused because it sounded like nobody was doing a damn thing other than watching the two girls get dragged into being fairies, alright? And then the girl is forced to have a mate now, which she didn't even ask for because I think she's, like, married or she's engaged to somebody in the very beginning of the book. Some big shot in the human world. That's over. She has no chance now, but that's okay because people are shipping her with Azrael and Lucien, so she still gets guys at the end of the day. Hyperion, I don't even know what he was saying. Like, he was just talking. The only thing that he did was that he broke the bond between Feyre and, like, Rysand. Because Tamlin just cannot get over the fact that his girl moved on. Like, she wrote you a letter. She wrote you a letter, dude, and told you that, like, literally, she is fine. It's time to move on. Izzy, my girl Izzy, gets dragged back into the story. And it was just this whole dialogue of explanation of, like, how Ianth, like, portrayed them and everything. I'm just like, first of all, if you really want to make a statement, that bitch should have been there to, like, be like, it was I who basically portrayed all of y'all. Like, that is, like, peak, alright? Like, you could have done that. Not how Hyperion just basically explain away why Nesta and, like, Elaine was there because Ianth portrayed Tamlin and Feyre. I'm just like, that's so cheap. Like, they don't need to be there. They didn't need to be turned into fairies. I couldn't get over the fact that, like, nobody was doing a damn thing for this entire novel other than just sleeping with everybody and portraying other people. Like, there was nothing. And I don't care what anybody says. At the very end, basically, Feyre and Rysand's bond, like I said, is separated by King Hyperion because, well, not really, because they did, haha, like, her and Rysand had a secret marriage, and then it was all part of the plan because she was gonna basically go with Tamlin. She basically makes up this whole thing saying that she was bewitched, which Lucien, he's like, I'm a dog, like a punching bag, but I ain't no fool. Like, I know that you still love Rysand, and all of it was 100% your choice because she made that big scene in the woods when he was trying to convince her to come back. You know, Tamlin takes it because he's a simp. Because I like Tamlin. I like Tamlin in the first book. I'm not gonna lie. You know, you can string me up for that. I don't care. I liked him. And it's just sad to see that he just becomes so fucking mediocre. Feyre is very mediocre to me. Infiltrated the spring court. Aha, look at her, just such a baddie. I'm just like, she's doing the bare minimum. I know her powers are overly written and dramatized in this novel. And I'm just like, I want to believe it. I really want to. Like, she's just like this overly powerful, like, you know, she's like the Avatar. She can bend all these elements that have been given to her from the various courts, okay? Disconnect. Because, like, I think it's because she doesn't act like it because of her trauma, which is, like, really shitty for me to think. But it's just, like, to me, she's, like, that typical YA character that's bestowed all these gifts, and they're just completely mediocre and they're incompetent. I just did not enjoy this book. I cannot wrap my mind around anything that happened in this book to convince me that I should even read the third book. And I have the third book. I asked for the third book for Christmas because I really wanted to read it. But after reading this, I'm just like, I'm so scared to start it. And I wanted to read the fourth book that's coming out because Nesta is the only person that I actually, like, kind of like. And a lot of people like this book. A lot of people lie to me. First of all, a lot of people lied to me. Y'all on here lied to me, which I should have known. A lot of y'all lied to me and said that A Court of Mist and Fury was your favorite thing, and oh my god, this is so amazing, blah, 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 blah. No, it is not. Even my co-workers and people at school were like, oh my god, like, A Court of Mist and Fury, you're gonna love it. I did not. I did not. Everybody can fucking choke in this book. And you know, when I was reading this, I was like, maybe I'm an idiot. And it has overwhelming good reviews. Like, I think on Goodreads it's like a 4.4 stars and everything, and people just eat this up. And like, you know what, if you enjoyed this book, good for you. You know, you probably don't like seasoning on your food, but like, you love this book. I can't bully you for that. And I don't hate Sarah J Maas either. And this is not hate towards Sarah J Maas. But this book was a big disappointment for me. Because I really enjoyed the first book a lot. But man, like, I don't know what you did in the second book, but I'm just like, I mean, it worked. Something worked because everybody else loved it, and then there's like this small little margin where people are just like, what the hell is this? So obviously, something worked in this book, and it was just not clicking for me. And I wish, like, a part of me really wishes that, like, I just clicked with this, just like how I clicked with the first book. But this book to me, you know, with everything, like, being said and done, with everybody saying, oh, it's so good, it's so this, and blah, blah, blah. This book, to me, is like when you meet a guy and he's, like, really nice, and he's, like, when you meet someone and they're, like, really nice, really sweet, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like, you know, we're gonna be dating for such a long time, and he's so cool. And then they look so good on paper and in person and everything, and they seem like they have a really great personality. But then they take you to their house, and it's filled with, like, Confederate flags, and they have, like, a KKK, like, outfit in the closet, and they have Hitler all over, and they turn out to be completely misogynistic and racist and homophobic. That was this book. It looked very good from the outside, like, looked very much like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have such a great time, and it turns out to be the worst thing that you could have possibly done. I do like Sarah J Maas. I'm probably gonna like read the third book just to read the third book, and then I really want to get into A Court of Silver Flames once it's released. No hate to Sarah J Maas. Like, obviously what she's doing, it's working. Like, she has a whole fandom dedicated to her. Like, honestly, like, she's an inspiration. Anyway, I gave this book a 1 star on Goodreads. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this review. Please do not send me hate. And don't forget to stan twice.